Oops, wrong button. Sorry, guys. I may need to bring this a little bit more. Oh my, what? My webcam is all over the place. Just give me, there we go. All right, that should be good now. How's it going, everybody? I think. How's it going, everybody? My name is Edson and Jacob. Welcome to another episode of Down in the Valley. We are very happy. We're very glad to see you all once again in another episode. We said we were going to bring in good news, and we got more than that. We got great news coming into this week's episode. We will be having, don't worry guys, we will be having Jacob on later on during the show. He's just running a little bit late, but he'll be back. He'll be back this week. So all of you that are missing him, don't worry, he's coming. So anyways, guys, last week and the week before, we were like, oh well, we wish we could bring in, hopefully we get some good results. In these two home matches, considering the fact, you have to consider the fact that these matches were against playoff teams. First against Real Monarchs, and then against Orange County SC. And I think against most odds. I don't want to say all, because I feel like there was a lot of people that thought that, hey, you know what, this team, when they're in it, they have what it takes to go up against anybody, right? And hey, what's up, Justin? And they proved these last couple of matches that they do. They went up against Real Monarchs, who whooped them last time they met over there at Zion's Bank, 5-3. And they came, and not only did they beat them, so they scored more than 2 goals. They scored 3 goals on Real Monarchs. The final score was 3-1, which is excellent. And then, the week after, which was this past weekend on September 28th, we had the Orange County SC coming in. And not only did we beat them as well, but we also kept a clean sheet against Orange County. The final score was 2-0 in that match. Sadly, I feel that this came a little bit too late into the season. This good run of form kind of came in too late into the season to try to even salvage some sort of playoff run. But at the end of the day, any good results at the end of the season kind of builds momentum towards next season. Obviously, we don't know who's staying and who's leaving from this roster for next season. But it gives Coach Echeverry a good foundation to build on and the Dynamo for next season. And speaking of being able to make playoffs, as we mentioned last week, 43 is the magic number right now. Right now, we're the last team in the Western Conference that still has an opportunity to make it to the playoffs. Below us, Tulsa Roughnecks have been already eliminated with 31 points. You got Colorado Switchbacks that stayed with 23 points, taking a bunch of L's. And, of course, Tacoma Defiance with only 21 points. Those 3 are already eliminated. But the Toros still have a minute chance of making it to the playoffs. And so the magic number. So we have 3 matches left, right? We've got this Saturday against New Mexico United. Next Sunday against OKC Energy. And next Friday against Portland Timbers 2, right? So you got 9 possible points left, which means that the magic number here at this point is 43. What do I mean by magic number? It means that 10th place cannot, or nobody above them should make it to 43 points. So 10th place must not make it to 43 points in these next 3 weeks. Because if that happens, if they meet or exceed that, you're talking about being eliminated. Even if we win the next, even if they win the next 3 games, if we don't, like, if anybody else gets to 43 points, the season for the Toros is done. Obviously, it ain't over till the fat lady sings. But at this point, you know, you have 9th and 10th place. They're 1 and 2 points respectively from that magic number, which means that at this point, El Paso Locomotive with 42 points and San Antonio FC with 41 points, they're closer to being in than being out, or at least that the Toros would be able to get past them in order to make a final push for a playoff spot. Obviously, this team still needs to continue to fight, like if they still had an opportunity to playoff spot, at least, like the title says, at least to play spoiler against all these other teams. Because remember, we got New Mexico United coming up. You know, they're in 11th place with 41 points as well. Although it would suck that if we beat New Mexico, we'd be helping out San Antonio. So, you know, take it what you want. You know, what do you think is better? But we would be playing spoiler against New Mexico United. And then you have OKC Energy, who is in 38 points. We could possibly play spoiler against, and they're 4 points away from 10th place, right? So we could potentially play spoiler against OKC Energy's chances of making into the playoffs as well. And of course, Portland Timbers too, with 3 points away. There's that's another time that we can play spoiler against these teams. So these 3 teams, or these 3, Justin says hashtag better than the Dynamo. You know what, bro? In some aspects, you're not wrong, man. In some aspects, I do have to say that this team is better than the Dynamo. Obviously, you gotta keep your levels in check. Obviously, USL Championship is no match compared to MLS in some instances, but when it comes to the hustle, when it comes to the grit, and when it comes to the this team, being able to go up against anybody, at this moment, the Toros have shown more of that than the Houston Dynamo. And that's sad, coming in, to say that the affiliate has more grit than the first team. So hopefully that'll be fixed for next season as far as for the Houston Dynamo is concerned. So, guys, if you haven't done so already, be sure to like this video. Be sure to share it. Share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I know today is going to be really, really hard to get a lot of people in here for X and Y reasons, but be sure to do that. Be sure to let everybody know about down in the valley. Either if you're Dynamo friends or your RGB FC friends from the Rio Grande Valley, be sure to let them know. Tell them to tune in. Obviously, we have the chat that's available if you guys want to talk about any topics regarding soccer, or of course if you want to talk USL, maybe even a little bit of Houston Dynamo as well. We are going maybe like an hour and a half at most. Tonight we're gonna start making that the norm, since I feel like 2 hours kind of drags on. There'll be a lot of changes going into down in the valley coming in for next season, in order to fit in the format, a style that benefits everybody, not only us as co-hosts, me and Jacob, but also as you guys, so that we'd be able to keep you guys more informed without taking a lot of time. So Justin says, I would love to look at the bottom 4 teams in MLS versus the top 4 of the USL. And Justin, I appreciate shared, RT, liked, etc. Got you covered. Thank you, bro. You do a whole lot for down in the valley, and I really appreciate it, man. Just like I try to do my best with you guys at the Peel. We got each other's back. But anyways, before I get antes de que me metan en polémicas, let's continue on. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So Tulsa Roughnecks. Playoff chances. Magic number 43. It's going to be really, really hard because, like I said, we have to win every game that's left and hope that nobody else gets to the magic number 43. And the fact of the matter is, you got four teams higher up than you in the, looking for that spot. And now let's look. There's something I do have to say though. I think if anything, this team can. I think they'll stay in 14th, 15th around there. Right now, Las Vegas Lights is looking. Although you know what, OKC really hasn't been doing well these past 5 matches. They've had 2 draws, 3 losses. Out of all the teams that are above them, that are below the playoff line, they've had the worst streak, with only 2 points out of the 15 possible. Then you have Las Vegas Lights, who's had 3 losses and 2 wins, just like the Toros. Portland Timbers as well, 3 losses, 2 wins. New Mexico United is a little bit better. They've had 2 losses, 2 wins, and a draw. So if anything, we may have an opportunity to go higher than OKC Energy. Obviously, we have to beat them at Taft Stadium. And, of course, we also have to make sure we have a decent result against New Mexico United and take advantage of our last home game against Portland Timbers 2. And hopefully that'll be enough to at least be close to making, or at least not being 15th place. Because, come on. The last 2 seasons have been 15th, 12th. Like, really? Like, I know this team is better than that. So, anyways, now that we heard the little ding dong, let's go ahead and switch over to... And let's welcome our good friend and co-host, Jacob Young. Jacob, how you doing, man? I cannot hear you. Oh, hold on. Wait. Hold on. There we go.
All right. There we go. Doing well. Looking forward to talking about some soccer. Always fun to talk about that. And, talk about some good weeks or some good games and some bad games.
And thankfully, like I was telling everybody as I was starting the show, thankfully we come into this week with good games to talk about, unlike previous shows. So that's something good. I was talking to the guy, to everybody, that one person, Justin. Hi, Justin. That our opportunities to make the playoffs, which are really, really slim. I was telling you that magic number is 43, and you have 2 teams that are 2 points away from making 43. And we have to take into consideration that in order to get to 43, the Toros must win the next 3 upcoming games.
Yep. Basically, it's a must-win situation every single night. Yes, we got to go undefeated. Yes, it can be possible, but... let's look at the track record for road games and sometimes even home games. It's not that well. RGV have won 1 away match this season. Mm-hmm. And they average close to 2 away matches won every season. So it's very, very, very slim, but it is very possible. And also, one quick thing, superstition, throw that out the window. Because that's not real.
Why do you bring that up, man? I just think it's hilarious. Why'd you bring that up?
Because both of Down in the Valley have officially been banned from HEB Park.
Well,
Even though this guy right here, wearing the Vancouver Canucks hockey jersey.
who, by the way, Justin says that he loves that jersey.
Thanks, Justin. But yeah, no. Another thing is, I was on Orange and Black Soccer Cast. I should get some credit for this win because I've been 2-1 when on that show. Just thought I'd also bring that up.
Oh, and you know what the best part is like after he says that, he takes a sip out of whatever he's having out of that cup. Yeah, you savage. So you hear that, JT? You hear that? Don't pin the blame. Don't punish him for my bad stuff. Okay, he is innocent. So, anyways, but yeah, what were we going about again? Oh, jeez. All right.
Playoffs.
Oh yes, playoffs. Yeah, it's a slim opportunity. We have to win everything left. Like you said, we have 2 road games, and we have not been good on the road. I think the only time we won was against
the Portland Timbers too this season.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, things aren't looking great. And I was telling the guy, it's more of anything. It's more about pride. It's more about building momentum towards next season and giving coach an idea who stays, or the Dynamo, I should say, who stays and who leaves come for next season as well. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit first, because I know you were gone last week. You had work.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit, because I think talking about both home games that we had these past 2 weeks, I think it's kind of important to see, how well this momentum can help us at the end of the season. And, we come into this match against Real Monarchs SLC. I personally came in a negative light, like saying, I don't think we're going to be able to get a decent result, because Real Monarchs have been better. They are a playoff team currently. At that time, I think they were 3rd going into that match. And the Toros had pretty much been horrible, coming in from a really bad Fresno beating in Fresno. Let's not talk about that anymore. But yet, they come into this match and they take it. They win 3-1. I think the more surprising aspect of it is, this team was struggling to score goals, and against Real Monarchs, they scored 3 on them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We scored 3 on them. The only thing that I would take away from this match as a bad thing is, we couldn't hold the clean sheet, which it seems like that's kind of been our thing this year, is not being able to hold a clean sheet, because Damian Germain scored in the 81st minute for Real Monarchs. But other than that, like you said, we couldn't score goals, and that's a huge, of course, confidence booster anytime. And just talking about the people who scored a goal, Shui Enriquez giving himself a bit of a brace, getting back on that scoring chart where he deserves to be, not just on the assist chart and being the leading assister. Mm-hmm. Eric Bird, same deal, being able to put the ball in the back of the net brings confidence out to him, because we all know Eric Bird doesn't belong in the USL. He belongs in MLS, but at the same time always needs to grow, so he comes back down here and plays some games. Michael Salazar gets back in the scoring game with it as well. Mm-hmm. A player who, we've seen his ups and downs, to say so the least. Yeah. And then, of course, the lineup is what, of course, brings everything to light. And it was just a perfect little system, like a 4-2-3-1, where you got Lemoyne, Enriquez, and Rodriguez, plus, of course, Salazar up front. And then the back line did its job just to really close out the game. And what I mean by that is they brought it up, yes, they got scored on in the 81st minute. That's the only downside to it, but they were able to not get scored on again after that, even though, of course, their offense had already done its job. So the defense was able to really clean up.
So Justin brings up a question. He asks, so is this an organizational issue? Is this a mindset starting from the top down that road results do not matter regarding the atrocious away record?
I mean, I'd even put it a step further. Well, it's a tough question, Justin, to say the least, because we've seen the roster and we've seen the way that the Dynamo have liked to mess with Houston, or to mess with RGV's lineup almost last minute, and most of those have been on the road. So yes, Houston can take some blame for RGV's road losses, I guess you can say, because we always talk about it, chemistry. But for the rest of the games that we've had the lineup, yes, it could be an organizational issue as well as just maybe a mindset for sure. It's a strange way. We don't know what the problem is, and it is a question. Would it be organizational? Maybe, but I think it's just a coincidence, sadly. Now, I don't know how it would be a coincidence, but I don't know how it would also be an organizational issue too. So
yeah, because I don't really think this is like, oh, we're going to get players that suck, like have a crappy mentality on the road. I think it just happened to be like, I think in the case of the Dynamo, because you look at the way RGV plays on the road, and you look at the way the Dynamo has played, especially under Wilmer Cabrera on the road. And the difference is, yes, get the same results, bunch of losses, a couple of draws here and there, very few wins. But I think there were more instances where the Dynamo looked completely lost, where they lost their fight, they lost their will to win. It happened a lot more times than it did with the Toros. With the Toros, I mean, you look at the results like against LA Galaxy 2, against even Phoenix and other teams, where this team kept on fighting. Even though they were down, this team kept on fighting a lot. And there were just very few, I think, obviously one would be the Fresno match, where everybody just kind of looked defeated, like before the match was even started. And I just think that maybe this is more of a mentality issue. Talking to one of the players this past weekend, he was telling me that this team is very mental based. This team relies a lot on the state of their mentality. What he meant was, there was a stat until this match against Sacramento. The Toros, when they scored first, were undefeated. So if the Toros scored first in the match, they had, I think it was like 10 wins and 1 or 2 draws. I don't remember the exact stat, but they were undefeated until they played against Sacramento. But the opposite was true when the Toros conceded a goal first. He said this team plays to the fact that, hey, if we score, like, all right, we can do this, we can take this, we can take them on. But once disaster happens, or something goes against them, they don't know how to get. 9 times out of 10, they don't know how to get back into it. I don't know if you want to say it's the lack of veteranship or whatever, but it seems that this team, what this player told me makes a lot of sense. He was telling me about the Fresno match where they completely lost. Even with the 1-0, they still kind of had an idea, like trying to fight back. You had Deshane Beckford, get that penalty, but once Carlos Esmal missed that penalty, their motive, like their mentality, it just went to the ground. Like they fell flat. And then especially when they got that penalty kicked called against them, couple of minutes later. And from then on, the Toros just could not be able to get back into the game. And I think this is what I think with the Toros, that is exactly what's happening. It's just a mentality issue, because we know this team can play well, but when it goes against them, that's when they start making a little bit more mistakes, or they just lose confidence in themselves. Whereas with the Dynamo is a completely different animal, where you got players that are checked out. Kyoto, since before,
Hey, at least he unlocked his Twitter and Facebook and Instagram accounts.
So yeah, and you see, I don't know. It's just so hard to explain the Dynamo, because there's a lot of factors that go in it, and because of all the secrecy, from the organization, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint a blame on what's going on with the Dynamo. But with the Toros, because we watch a lot of the games and stuff like that, it's just easier to kind of get an idea about what's happening. But the fact that this is because I really don't think that our team sucks. I don't think the talent level of this team is compared to a 15th place in the USL Championship. However, that mentality, that mental toughness definitely needs to be improved for next season.
Yeah, and I'll also change some things that I was saying as well, because I also forgot about this fact too. When I had gone to a Toros Academy match, it was kind of the same exact deal, as in the Toros Academy. I think it was U15s that I was watching, but they had missed an open shot early in that game. It didn't necessarily bring them down, but what hurt was when they got scored on. I believe it was against an Austin team. What happened was, yes, they were still fighting. That mentality was still there, but it got let up, and they got scored on again. They were down like 4-1 or 4-2 at halftime or something random like that. And then they did score again. I think they scored 3 goals in that match, losing 5-3. I think the actual score line on their Instagram account didn't actually show what the score was. But point being, it was kind of that same exact way. Besides the fact that they're playing in extreme heat conditions in a way.
Yeah.
It was just that it felt like that same mentality where they kind of not necessarily gave up, but they just knew that they had been beat. And yeah, I think the mentality, it could just be that same mentality could just be an issue on RGVFC's part right there. Like you said, it is a whole nother animal at the Houston Dynamo situation, which, I mean, I could say so many other things on that note, but sticking with RGVFC, yeah, that mentality issue, it's seen in the academy as well.
So my dad says we have heart and something else to fight regardless of the score, and I think we see that, but sometimes with all that heart, which we really do appreciate, sometimes like the actual technical aspect kind of gets a little bit cloudy. But hey, whatever, if it works and it gets us decent results, we'll take it. But anyways, so continuing on, you mentioned that you had players that really needed a confidence boost that scored against Real Monarchs. Eric Bird, this was an aspect of it. It kind of proved on what level Eric Bird was playing with the Toros. It just kind of was the cherry on the top on Eric Bird's past performances. Chuy Enriquez, he's had assists, he's had opportunities trying to score a couple of posts, as well throughout the weeks. But he really wasn't just unlucky. He was just very unlucky in that aspect of not being able to score. I think the last time Chuy scored was against El Paso. I think it was against El Paso. It was when he last scored, if I'm not mistaken. and obviously Michael Salazar, who really needed, like, I think what really surprised me from Michael Salazar is, number one, the team did not play long balls as in previous weeks, just hoping for Michael Salazar to kind of, pull one out of the hat. And number two, the level of intensity and the level of participation that Michael Salazar had in trying to build it into the offense, it really, I think it really motivated everybody else to go along with it.
Yeah, exactly. Confidence boosters were key, and it shows what the Toros have been capable of. And it's funny, it's kind of like saying this kind of like a repeat from last year, in my opinion. Why is it? It's because, well, RGVFC kind of get on this run late in the season trying to, of course, make the playoffs. But besides that, they play like they don't belong in that place. They play like they belong in fifth place. They play like they belong maybe around that area. And you'll hear it from even just ESPN Plus broadcasts in general. And they'll say, wow, this team is very impressive. It's crazy how they're just in this place, but they don't play like it. So, yeah, we know this team has had talent all the way through. They're just showing it now. And of course, like you said, key things, long balls. Why have RGVFC been doing that for so long throughout the season when we all know that if their passes become successful, which is one thing that they had been struggling with all year long, then we could see outcomes more and more exactly like this, especially at home, where you need the wins more than anything else, especially if you can't perform on the road.
I think my biggest gripe about going with or spamming the long balls, it's kind of it's not like in FIFA where long balls are very overpowered. I think my biggest thing about it was, remember against Austin, they really spammed that long ball towards Michael Salazar, even when they had Ronaldo Pena alongside with him to try to help him out. And Austin, with their experience, they picked that up, and they were going up with 2 or 3 defenders going up against Michael Salazar, just waiting for him to, and not even waiting, like they made him uncomfortable enough to not be able to get to the ball, or if he was able to get to it, not being able to control it comfortably for the team. And I think against Real Monarchs, they kind of went back to the roots. They kind of went back to possession style ball. Even those possession stats say that they had less possession than Real Monarchs. Because I do have to say this: Real Monarchs, was a little bit more dominant throughout the match. But the difference is that they were not very effective when it was time to be inside of the dangerous area of RGVFC, which is the 18-yard box. And it's something that we've complained about the Toros, about like not being clinical when in the attack. And I think in that match they were clinical, and they did not allow their opponent to be clinical in their box.
Exactly. And one thing that really did help for sure for RGVFC to get this win, not only were the goals, but was kind of the goalkeeping and also forcing Real Monarchs to have bad shots. Talk about 13 shots, but only 3 on target for Real Monarchs. And you put that into perspective compared to 7 and 4. Of course, RGVFC is nowhere near better in a sense, but they got the job done with having 3 of their 4 shots go in the back of the net. Yes, of course, one was on a penalty, so I guess you can. Well, it still counts actually because it was on frame and it was in the back of the net. So, yeah, it's the difference of, well, it could have ended up being maybe a 3-3 draw if we see all 3 of those go in for Real Monarchs. But that just shows you that, well, RGVFC were up to the task and were ready to really play defense when it came down to it. And of course, that's what you want. You want to pressure your team. You want to pressure your opponent, I should say, into making bad shot choices and things like that, considering that they had more possession. But they only had more possession by, well, kind of just a couple, not necessarily a couple of percent, because it was 54 and 46. But you get where I'm saying. That just a bit more possession from RGVFC, you see it being pretty evenly matched in general. So it was a very tight game, but RGVFC just up for the task from the standpoint of stats.
So I found the stat that I mentioned about RGVFC when they scored first, but this was in the during the Real Monarchs match, 7-1-0. So they had 7 wins and one loss. When they scored first, I think we also have to mention, that obviously, well, who was it? Michael Nelson in goal. Yeah, Michael Nelson, outstanding job getting those saves done, but the defense stepped up big time. If I look at the stats right here, right now, the defense had 15 clearances throughout the match. That's a lot. And they were able to also block 6 shots. And I think also, and this is the most important considering, how the Toros were getting scored on the previous matches, they were able to minimize turnovers in transition from defense to attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, minimizing turnovers right there. You said it best. I mean, that's exactly why I also brought up just the midfield and also the passing, because you and I both know, we've seen it with our own eyes, how the passing has gone good and has gone to bad. And well, when the passing is good, you get things like that, and you don't have to necessarily lob the ball and do stuff like that. It really helps with that transition, of course, and you're not necessarily trying to, well, just push a bit too much on that offensive turnaround. So, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you that that was key. No mistakes. And it's funny, I kind of say that almost every week with, when I have to cover a football game, is American football game, at least for now, is saying you have to limit those mistakes, whether it be penalties or anything that can really hurt you. If you limit those mistakes, you should be better off and probably be able to get that W as long as things go your way from then on. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Those mistakes that we have seen at the beginning of the year, and then of course kind of going into that late year where we just saw those same mistakes and were very frustrated. Now it was almost like a perfect game for RGV.
Yeah, and I think, you look at the opportunity in that bicycle kick by Isidro Martinez. Isidro was the one that started that play with that interception on the Salt Lake City, or Real Monarchs, I should say, transition. So I think in this match, the tortilla kind of flipped to the other side for the Toros. They were able to create that mistake in Real Monarchs, and had it not been for that post, man, number one, that would have been goal of the week. Don't at me. Number two, I think it gave more motivation to the midfield to be maybe a little bit more aggressive when it comes to trying to intercept. I feel like maybe sometimes our midfield kind of lets the rival team get too close to our box. And that's why you start seeing all these stats of our opponents getting a lot of shots or a lot of clearances, because they allow them to get into. Maybe that's one thing I think. Maybe I may be wrong. I think and it might kind of help lessen the pressure on our defense. I feel like our back line has had a lot of pressure, trying to get these these opportunities and these dangerous opportunities, out from our goalkeeper. And then you look at the third goal, like the actual third goal, and what a combination play between Michael and Chuy. And unlike against Sacramento, where he had a similar play, Michael Salazar is able to put this one in. I mean, it was the same. It was almost the same play. Combination with Chuy, 1-on-1 against the keeper, but this time he actually got it in.
Yeah, combination play. I mean, that's one thing that you can take out of a positive is that Salazar learned from, of course, his mistake before.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have similar opportunities like that, and of course you want to do better when you're that type of player that will practice constantly, you're going to be able to really redeem yourself and get a ball in the back of the net. And that's exactly what he did, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And just combination plays like that, we've seen that Michael Salazar could do that before, of course, that international break, and before he was sent off to Houston Dynamo. We had seen that type of skill. We had seen that could work. And so something that we want to see more of course. So will we see more of that next season? Maybe, maybe not. But will we see more of that come Saturday? Or, yeah, it's Saturday that we play.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, will we see more of that Saturday at New Mexico? Hopefully. But, of course, now, also kind of getting into that match, I know it's kind of early, but we can also say that's a hostile environment for a USL place.
It definitely is, and it's gonna put the mental toughness of our players. It's gonna put it to the test. Have they learned from these past couple of matches, or was it just because? Remember, what is this team designed for? Preparing young players to go into MLS.
Yeah,
and in MLS, you have to go up to against Atlanta's. You have to go against Portland's. You have to go against Seattle Sounders's. You have to go against LAFC's, whose stadiums are packed, who put in a lot of pressure. FC Cincinnati for the most part. Kansas City, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all Houston Dynamo where it's an empty-ass stadium like it is at HEB Park. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
And now, of course, Columbus Crew with their new crowd, they had their biggest crowd there in a while. So now, of course, that place is becoming more hostile as well. So it's just going to continue to grow and grow. And, well, you got to get ready for those types of atmospheres. What better way to start off than, of course, going over to New Mexico? I mean, they already had their experience in week 2 with week 2. Was it week 1? I forget. Either way, in El Paso, that was a pretty hostile environment considering how well El Paso's crowd was too. So just a lot of crowds that are good in the USL that can really throw a wrench at you in a sense, is it being loud and, well, players or fans yelling stuff at you. I mean, I remember one time talking to Chuy Enriquez after the Portland Timbers 2 match that they had on the road. And he said, when they won, he said, yeah, no, it was pretty violent. And they were yelling stuff at us. And I'm like, it's probably not as bad as if you were to go to Seattle, but yeah, of course you're gonna get that stuff no matter what.
And talking about that, I talked to Chuy as well this weekend. He mentioned against El Paso. Because I brought up his celebration where he shut up eighth notch. Yeah. He was telling him that it seemed like those kind of fans, it's like they prepare, like they do their homework during the week just to find out what to yell at a certain player or a certain team during that match. He says that even before the game started, while they were warming up, the El Paso fans were being very rowdy and being very hostile towards the Toros. So I think it's a good, these kind of rabid, and not rabid, but like passionate fan bases are good practice for these guys to get accustomed to it if they make it to the next level. I just wish our home crowd was as passionate as these other ones, like El Paso, New Mexico. Who else?
Paso, New Mexico, Portland.
No, I'm talking about USL.
Portland fans, especially if they play at the baseball field or whatever, it's pretty good. LA, well, no, not LA Galaxy 2. Oh, Las Vegas.
Oh, Las Vegas. Las Vegas is
that's
actually a
good
one.
Pretty intense crowd, considering that they've got kiddie pools on the sideline. Which I don't know why, but was just.
Let's not forget the inflatable dancing thingy.
That too, yes, the inflatable. I
forgot what they're called, but they're the ones that you find at the car dealerships.
Exactly, the car dealership things on the side when you're going for goal. So. Yeah, it can distract you on that side too. They prepare you. It's very simple, and of course you can get worse crowds and MLS, as in crowds can say worse things or something like that. But hey, true, if you're listening, at least you're not playing in the Liga MX, because I'm pretty sure they'd be pretty hostile there too.
Oh, trust me, he knows.
Well,
he played. Remember, he was in the Xolos with the Xolos under 20s or under 23s, and he's an America fan, so he knows what's going on. He has an idea, and that's the thing, though. He has an idea, but I feel like a lot of these other players who aren't necessarily like fans of Liga MX don't really have a general idea.
Carlos Small.
Oh, Carlos Small has been with the national team. So I mean, come on. So he has.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's been with the Yeah.
I mean, more along the lines of like these other younger guys that are coming out of college that are not.
Cabrera Jr. for sure. Even though yes, he's coming back into college, but also David Cabrera, same deal. Because I know that they're very young, and well, to be fair, like around my age, we get very passionate ourselves and we can lose our temper. We can be hotheads, and you can't let the crowd get to you. Even if you want to let the crowd get to you as much as possible, you just can't. And that's also something that I'd say the team would kind of need to just learn a bit more from. And why I say that is because, great example, when Austin Bold played at home, or Austin Bold played the Toros at home, and it seemed like Austin Bold got under the Toros' skin. That's something that for every single player, no matter who it is, cannot let happen, because you think it's bad now where a player can get under your skin. Oh, it's going to be way worse up in MLS or wherever you go if you make it to the next level.
Mm-hmm. So, I think you have any final thoughts on this match against Real Monarchs? Because we've got to talk about last weekend's match.
Final thoughts. I think it was a good match for sure for the Toros. They showed pride. They showed that they could really push, even though, of course, they are on the brink of elimination after every single game. But that is exactly what pressure is. And so they were able to perform well in that game under pressure. And, well, maybe they did it again this next week, as we're about to talk about it.
So now we talk about it. We go now into last Saturday. We get back on our DeLorean time machine and go towards 28th of September. Rio RGVFC hosting Orange County SE. Yes, SE. SC, not SE. That's an iPhone. And I was, once again, not expecting a good result against Orange County. I think I had said last week, at least maybe a draw. but I was not expecting. I don't think I was expecting a win, to be honest. But what were your thoughts into this match?
Well, of course, yeah. Coming into the match, I could tell you one thing. I learned a bit from, of course, the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, from them telling us or telling me about their team. And, well, they had, again, another player that was suspended. That was one of their best players.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, of course, hurt them. And I think it's something like the last couple of times that we've played Orange County, whether it's been on the road or at home, we hadn't played against a full roster, as in, or not a full roster, but like just as in some players would always be suspended when they were to playoffs.
Yeah.
And so that was something that, of course, I kept my eye on. And then also I had said at their show, well, this team, they just beat Real Monarchs and they're coming in feeling good, as well as, well, they like to fight even if they're on the brink of death.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they're on the brink of death, I think that's when they do the best. And so I was expecting maybe something good, especially coming in here. And plus, Orange County's record coming into HEB Park is not that fantastic. So that was something to also look forward into that game. So coming into it during the match, I was very shocked to see that, well, they were also fighting once again. Even though, of course, I had said things like that, I was still shocked to say, hey, guess what? I'm kind of correct on this. They are trying their hardest to win this game.
I think, even though I did notice that they were going to miss their one of their best players due to, I believe it was yellow card accumulation, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
I still felt like maybe Orange County was going to be dominant even without him. And I think we saw that. I think we saw that in this match. Because once again, this was a match, especially in the first half, where our opponents dominated us. They had more opportunities to score. They had a crossbar shot, if I'm not mistaken. They had a goal that was called off for offsides. So they had opportunities on goal, which did not go in due to luck, or they just couldn't capitalize on the opportunities that were given to them. And the second half, however, it seemed like the Toros kind of leveled the playing field. And unlike Orange County, they too, once again, for the second week in a row, they capitalized on the opportunities that were given to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you look at the stats, Orange County had 58.6% of possession.
Yeah.
And they had 10 corners, so they were on the Toros, trying to score that goal. They had 13 shots, only 2 of them are on target. So that kind of says something about them not being very clinical, surprisingly, against the Toros. 2 blocked shots, 4 shots outside the box, 9 shots inside the box. The Toros had 7 shots, 3 on target.
Yeah.
With one of them being blocked. Like I mentioned, in the second half, things got a little bit more level. The Toros find their goal in the 70th minute after great individual play by Kevin Rodriguez. Typical FIFA fashion. You just run the ball from midfield all the way to the goal, take the shot. He went past, if I'm not mistaken, looked like 3 defenders before slotting it in for the goal. I was surprised, Kevin having the confidence, and we go back to these mental aspects, but the confidence that Kevin Rodriguez had on himself to take on 3 defenders by himself, and even after that long run, have enough confidence to slot it in past the keeper. He made the play all by himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Talk about having that confidence, and just talk about what it could have been if, let's say, he was taking on 3 defenders and failed miserably. How, just upset we would have been at Kevin Rodriguez, but he was able to make it look easier, of course, and he was able to really be successful on that run.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, that's always a positive when you have that type of confidence somehow. And of course, both the players knew it was go time. They could not waste an opportunity. They had to try something, considering, well, Kevin Rodriguez scores in the 71st minute. So it was basically already that 70th minute. And real quick, of course, I mean, the 71st minute, how close is that to 76 minutes? Imagine if we were sponsored by 76. The Toros were. That would have been something else.
Yeah, but I mean, we can barely get sponsored by Delia's Tamales. I mean, and I think I mean, we don't really have, other than Nature Valley, we don't have a national. Well, I take that back, because now we have General Mills. That's true. Yeah. But like but I mean, like, to the point where the sponsor actually does like an activity like that, you know, that has to do with the game, you know, for us. You know, like the Dynamo, they have Raising Cane's. Like if they score, they score 2 goals, you get a BOGO for their 4-piece lunch kit, or for their combo, the box combo. They have Jack in a Box. If the Dynamo win, you get a free Jumbo Jack. And also you have 76 with the gas if they score in the 76th minute. The Toros, I don't think the Toros have any of that. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be a good incentive, like, for the fans to go to the games, even if it means they get something for free because the Toros did well.
Yeah. But
that's kind of going a little bit into a different topic. So the 70th minute, you had Kevin Rodriguez score that goal. And here's another thing that surprised me. The game is 1-0. So it was a tough match. You're going up against a really good Orange County team. And in the 84th minute, you take out Nico Lemoyne, and you totally surprise everyone, including me. I don't know if it probably surprised you, but instead of bringing in Deshane Beckford, you bring in an academy player, Juan Carlos Obregon Jr., into this game. My first impression was like, Coach, are you okay? Are you really gambling with an academy player who had never been called up to the first team before? Mm-hmm. You know, against a really tough opponent when you only have a 1-0 lead. I mean, I would understand if we were like 3-0 or something, but a 1-0 lead and Orange County continuing to fight. I was like, okay, Coach. But 4 minutes later, he gets his goal. Yeah. So the best debut for him that he could dream of for a professional team.
Yeah.
Granted, obviously, most of the, if not all of the play was crafted by Carlos Small, who also came in, but he came in the 70th minute. Beautiful play, although at first I thought, I was like, Carlos, I thought he was going to like chip it over the keeper. And when he started like losing his angle, I was like, oh, Jesus, Carlos, you just messed this up. But let me get your thoughts on that first before I start talking about the analysis of that goal.
Yeah, no, I do agree it is a bit strange, but at the same time, we kind of had that same thought with trying to think of him, but not Jackson.
What do you mean? Wait, who?
I'm trying to think of who it is for a second here. Well, one of our new signing, I believe, from last week or a couple of weeks ago, whenever we got that new signing.
Beckford?
Yeah, actually, yeah, Beckford. That's yeah, yeah, exactly. So we saw that burst of speed, and we saw what he could do for the team. Now, of course, your you got to give a new academy product that you technically signed in a chance to play at some game. Yes, of course. Granted, I do agree with you. We only had a 1-0 lead. We did not know what to expect from this man. And sure enough, Obregon, of course, just like you said, surprised us all and was fantastic. So kind of never judge a book by its cover in a sense. And what I mean by that is just because they're an academy product doesn't mean that doesn't mean that they're just an academy product coming off the bench. They can actually make a huge difference onto this team. So, yeah, it's always a plus to see that coach knows what he's doing. That coach can risk it. Well, as the saying goes, risk it for a chocolate biscuit. And sure enough, you get it done like that. So, yeah, no, I agree it was shocking, but it's also, once again, nice to see that coach knows exactly what he's doing. And guess what, Houston? He's made this gamble, and he actually, well, not necessarily gamble, but he just has a sixth sense about him. Keep him at RGV FC for a third year.
Or at least don't meddle as much as they do. Trust Gerson's judgment.
Yes.
If that includes benching an MLS player when he gets sent down, so be it. Exactly. But if he's better, our USL team or player is better than your MLS loanee, then that's how it should be. It should be based on merit and not based on a piece of paper. And I think that's been my biggest gripe this season, is that the piece of paper, aka an MLS contract, has more weight in game day decisions than the actual talent level of certain players. Junko, I'm looking at you.
So you could be gone next season.
Well, considering the luck of most of the Dynamo's super draft picks, I wouldn't be surprised. I think the only one that would be saved, obviously, is last year's Michael Nelson and this year's Andrew Samuels, because Brad Dunwell, we haven't seen a lot from him because, well, he's got Eric Bird, he's got Romilio, and he's got Isidro Martinez on top, over him. And that's something. That's another interesting thing about it is, like, you look at these players like Robert Coronado, like Isidro Martinez. These are players that played in collegiate. They did not go into the draft. And you look at players that came from the draft, like Brad Dunwell, playing from Wake Forest, which is arguably one of the best. I think at that time was the best soccer program in all of NCAA's soccer, or one of the best. But he was
one of the best for sure, because Stanford keeps winning the title. So
okay, you do have a point there.
Yeah,
but he was highly lauded because of him coming from Wake Forest, right?
Yeah,
and at the end of the day, in the professional level, Isidro Martinez from UTRGV and Robert Coronado, took over the spots, and technically by merit earned their spot in the starting 11 for this team over these super drafts. Andrew Samuels has shown he is a good prospect. And I think, like I said, he's the only one in this year's draft picks that have been able to prove their worth at the professional level for the Dynamo.
Yep.
So Justin says, and regarding the gamble that Coach Echeverri had, he says, sometimes you have to take a chance on a player. Adversity helps growth.
Yep. No, I agree. Couldn't have said it better myself, for sure, because it is true. Adversity will help growth. But of course, when you're fighting for your job and you want to get another win, you're fighting for getting a playoff spot, and you've got to make a change. Which one do you do? Your academy product, or do you put in a player that you've seen before. And it's true. It's always going to be a challenging decision, and he chose, of course, wisely after that one. And now, of course, I want to also talk a bit about Dunwell for sure. And it's so crazy because talking to coach one time and just, yeah, it's crazy because this kid has so many people, so many players, just like you said, ahead of him. But you and I both have seen him after a game going to the training room or the weight room, of course, where we do the interviews, and go on that super, super loud treadmill. But of course, because it's probably at mile 10 or 15 mph going on. But the point is, he still has that drive, that mentality to try to do better and better and better. And coach, of course, gives him praise about that, because it's like, this kid has the drive, the mentality, might not necessarily have the skill or talent or whatever, reason being, of course, why, yes, we don't see it in practice, because only I think Ray would see it because he goes to practice more than I think we have. And I mean, just, yeah, point being, he's just very dedicated. The others might have more skill to him, but he's always going to be out there trying his hardest and stuff like that to get a spot in the lineup as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think it's more of those aspects where Brad Dunwell has to wait for his opportunity.
Yeah.
And when he has it, he has to take advantage of it. Yeah. You know, because like you say, because even when we don't have Chalin or Isidro, the same person. Oh my God. Chalin or Bird or Romilio. In the depth sheet, he is behind David Cabrera too. So he's got minimum of 4 players ahead of him that he has to outshine if he wants to get a starting position in this team. So he's got his work cut out for him in that aspect. I wish he continues to show that maturity, you know, of fighting or working to get that top spot. And I think that competition helps this team out, because it also allows our starters, whether Chalin or Romilio or even Eric Bird when he comes in, to not rest on their laurels, because they know that if they ever let up, got a couple of people back there that'll take. And I think the defensive midfield is the place where we have the most depth, in my opinion, for the Toros. So there is no, I'm just gonna, you know, okay, I played bad, whatever, right, kind of thing. You can't let up in that position, because you got others behind them that are working to get into that position as well. Ray still has, okay, all right. I guess he's uploading them later on. So Justin says, Wake Forest and Stanford are the college soccer powerhouses. Saw them here in Houston when the College Cup was at BBVA. And He says Akron is the other powerhouse college. I had to Google it. I remember there was another. And so, yeah. And speaking of college, man, Wilmer Cabrera Jr. is on fire. And you know who else? Brandon Morales. Yep. Mm-hmm. They're doing great in their respective collegiate teams.
Yeah. Let's see here. Trying to think of where Butler's at in soccer, because of course conferences get mixed up when it gets to those sports, like lacrosse and soccer always mixes up those conferences, because even Akron, same deal. Akron's normally in like the A10. They might still be in the A10, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure on that note either. But yeah, no, really impressive from both. They are doing very well, and of course making both programs look good. That's exactly, of course, what you want to see. Now, it goes back to the same talk as Well, it's a different setting in a sense. It's a different style of play.
Yeah.
And of course, both those guys, in my opinion, they weren't necessarily going to get as many minutes as, let's say, if they were in college. They still needed polish, just like we said. And sure enough, they're getting that. And they're being stars in their own aspects. And that's exactly what you want to do, the big man on campus.
And let's not forget, I mean, let's be honest. How much help is actually being a couple of months in a professional environment? How much that helps, going back to collegiate? That helps out a lot too.
Yeah, because they were already warmed up. They were already warmed in a sense. They went into preseason of college soccer, to be exact, already shaking off that rust. So they had already had all those bolts and whatever loosened in a sense, if you get my what I'm kind of saying there. And boom, they were able to take off. And like you said, they were playing against bigger, faster, and stronger guys up in USL. And now, of course, coming here, well, they've learned some techniques and they've learned that they can really help out doing it this way and stuff like that. I mean, how much did we already see Cabrera Jr. just get better from the start from the first game to the last game that he was in RGV?
Mm-hmm.
What an impressive, just
improvement.
Yeah, just an improvement. There we go.
And I think it's he's one of those players that we had an idea how good he was because of how lauded he was at the academy level. Mm-hmm. And which, when you saw these kind of games where he was not being very participative or missing easy shots, and you're like, what's going on here? Right? And I think at the end, like, he kind of figured out what he needed to do. Maybe a fire got lit under him. I'm not gonna talk anymore. But something happened to Wilmer Cabrera Jr. at the end of the day, and I think that momentum kind of bled itself with Butler, and also with Brandon Morales with Cornell, and I think it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge for them if they ever do want. Considering that Wilmer Cabrera is now gone from the Houston Dynamo Academy, I highly doubt that that Wilmer Jr. Might be coming back to the Toros.
He might go to Canada for all we know.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's a talent that will hopefully. I'm trying to remember about if Wilmer Jr. was born here, or if he was born in Colombia. He's Colombian American. He was born in Colombia, but he's Colombian American. So he has So he is able, if I'm to be capped for the for the U.S. national team.
Yeah, exactly. Which, of course, it goes back to one player that I'll also bring up from Houston. Not Jermaine Jones. Yeah, it is. Think him. Either way, point being, one of those players, it was because he was technically English, but he was also English, Ghana, something like that. I forget what you say if you're from Ghana. But point being, he had to play for Ghana because he didn't necessarily have the skill to play for England. So, yeah, it could be that same exact deal. Now, of course, Wilmer Cabrera Jr., who knows? He's got plenty of time to really get going for Colombia national team if you want.
Do you mean Giles Barnes with Jamaica?
Giles Barnes, there we go.
Jamaica and England?
Jamaica and England.
Yes.
There we go. Because also, why I do recall this is because he would always wear not the Jamaican colors on his wristband or on his arm that he had a wristband of, but it was the Ghana colors. And that's why I always thought that he was from Ghana, and then all of a sudden was for Jamaica. So, yeah, English and Jamaican. There we go.
So, hold on. Just give me a quick minute, because I I think Ray was calling in, but I don't have the Skype enabled. So let me send them the link to the meeting. I'm pretty sure he has something to say. But anyway, I do want to talk about that second goal, because there is something interesting that I noticed, and we go back. Justin says Giles is better than Jermaine. Anyways, yeah. You go back and watch this second goal, and you're like, what in the world was the Orange County defense thinking?
Yeah.
It's like you had two defenders like at the first post once Carlos Esmal got past the keeper. Mm-hmm. And nobody was marking Obregon. Nobody was marking Juan Obregon. And it was like, really, guys? Like, really? It's like defending 101. Somebody has to be marked. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, like I said, that Carlos was able to identify that he was alone, or that he was unmarked, I should say. And that was an easy tap-in for Obregon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was an easy tap-in. And, of course, it's just something that, we've talked about from RGV's perspective on defense. Why aren't you marking every single person? When you just leave that one person open, that person 9 times out of 10 will burn you, basically. He'll be the one to put the ball in the back of the net, and he'll be the one to really, save his team from whatever. So, we've talked about it from both things. It was weird how they were playing, how Orange County was playing, especially on defense from that goal. It's a strange thing of where we were able to really just break them down, and then thinking, well, this guy's not going to put it in the back of the net and things like that. And, of course, it always comes down to also a mentality issue, where they forgot that they needed to mark that guy instead of just going zone on a couple of other players. So, yeah, a lot of things should have happened there, but able to put the ball in the back of the net because of that.
And then right in stoppage time, you had the captain for Orange County, lose his mind and went full WWE on Juan Obregon with an elbow to the face, and that was just bad. It was like you knew that they were defeated right then and there, in that aspect. You're like, nah, that's it. Orange County was not gonna come back for that, and it was a straight red. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you just see Chuy Enriquez like right next to him, just clapping at him. It's funny because I asked him about that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's because I played with him in Cholos, so I know him." So it's like, "Damn, Chuy." Jeez, he's savage.
Yeah, it's funny going also back to when I was on Orange Black Soccer Cast. I had told them, the story about Carlos Small and his red card a couple of times ago, saying, hey, this is a way for Orange County to probably also win this game, is to really get under RGVFC's skin. Mm-hmm. And of course, yes, that goes with the different way of RGVFC could be down by a goal. And of course, like we talked about before, Orange County had a chance to do that early in that match. We're not able to put it away. But just like I was saying for that, because, our players can also put some collateral damage for RDVFC, as an RDVFC might end up getting some type of red card if that were to happen, because, we've got some players that can get hot hits and things like that. So just kind of talking with them about that. And then all of a sudden, of course, the tables flip, or as Michael Scott has said, how the turntables, which just always gets me every time, that line, because Michael Orozco got that red card, and boom. And also they had a couple more yellow cards, which also hurts Orange County's cause for their push into not only playoffs but into a better seed.
Mm-hmm. So Ray, how's it going, man? Welcome aboard.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you guys tonight?
I think we've. I don't think we've ever been happier before this season.
Uh, uh, wonderful. Yeah, I mean it was quite a fascinating game. I missed the red card, um, albeit I was already making my way downstairs,
Yeah.
as I usually do before of each match, which has always been a superstition of me
Hmm.
to walk down before the match ends, before any other tragedia strikes.
Yeah. No, it was just one of those things where the referee had called for the play to end. Um, Obregon was trotting towards the ball, or like he was running and he was slowing down because the play had ended. And Michael Orozco just puts his elbow on Obregon's face in an egregious attempt to do some hard on the young kid. So that straight red was warranted, to be honest.
Things that um, I missed. I completely missed. I was making my way downstairs as I usually do, and I just caught the final whistle, and we move on to the next game, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
overall, I mean, it was such a good game for the Toros. I mean, I'm glad that their patience paid off a little bit. That they're learning how to be patient on the offensive end now. When you have veteran teams that try to come in and try to push their will and their way to what's almost a mathematically eliminated Toro squad.
yeah, yeah, and you were talking about this earlier in the show is that mentality aspect that we've touched upon so much in this show. It really goes into full effect. These coming matches where things go well for them and they're strong enough to be able most of the time to be able to hold it out. But the issue is when things don't go well for them, and that's where the team breaks apart.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, you can go back to the Fresno match and use that as part of that script right there, where the team just shows it's exhilarating you,
Hmm.
and you can look at the past two home matches where the team just shows its great composure. Sans that one goal that they gave up against Real Monarchs.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, they've been real disciplined, playing some solid soccer here at home, and now I just hope to see it replicated over in New Mexico.
And so now we're talking about the New Mexico match that's going to happen this Saturday. What are your thoughts on this? What was the overall? Because I know you went to practice today, but what was the overall feeling? The overall mentality of this team going to New Mexico?
I was able to talk to Chewy, and I was able to talk
My boy.
to Kyle. I was able to talk to Chewy and Kyle Adams earlier today, and they're all like, "Well, the thing that we can learn from the Fresno game is that we gotta put ourselves in lockdown mode defensively first before having to achieve anything before we can make our runs. We are gonna get our opportunities, but we just gotta be focused on the defensive end because this team may not be playing very well at home, and they've had some recent tough home games against Phoenix where they gave up a late equalizer, and they're one of those teams trying to fight in for a playoff spot themselves too. So right now they're just like concentrated to try to get a result on the road, something that the team has not gotten in over 5 months now.
Hmm.
And talking to Coach Echeverry as well, I mean he echoes those same sentiments, but now he wants to put in a little bit more of an aggressive attacking plan. Not that he feels that his side is timid, but he just wants to make sure that the team doesn't want to replicate what happened in Fresno again.
I think to me, I think the Fresno match was an accident, just because of the way everything played out. And I told you, Jacob, earlier on. This was a whole other thing where this team wasn't able to be mentally strong because of the early goal, the missed PK, the converted PK like a couple minutes later after the missed PK, and then from then on they just didn't know how to recover. Mm-hmm. And they stopped being patient like they usually have been, and they just kind of went with their gut feeling, and 9 times out of 10 it was very, very, very disorganized. And I do have to agree, what Ray mentioned, that the players said, this team needs to understand, that they have to be solid defensively first. You have to build that foundation in order to go and find the ways to attack, because if you're just going to be attacking, but you're going to be leaving yourself exposed in the back, then it's kind of very counterproductive at this point.
And my two players of focus for this New Mexico match, it's going to be Kevin Rodriguez and Nico Lemoyne. I mean, those have been two of the best players as of late, mm-hmm. despite they haven't been getting a lot of time. They haven't been on the score sheet as much, but now recently they kind of figured out that way to get in now. I feel like those two guys are going to be like the key players of impact for the Toros if they are to get a result. I just feel like they've been playing very, very well as of late, and the rewards have been they've been able to score and get on the score sheet themselves. So I figured that this might be a good chance for them to try to put down a raucous New Mexico crowd.
And I think the key here with Nico Lemoyne and Kevin Rodriguez has been consistency, has been the chemistry that they've been able to build with the rest, whether it's Carlos or Michael and Chuy and Isidro. All of those minutes that they've been getting alongside everybody else, it's kind of helped them out a lot to become a lot more accustomed to coaches' tactics and have been more influential in the game as time goes by. I mean, you see against Real Monarchs, Kevin Rodriguez, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that got the penalty called
correct.
On. Say again?
That's correct, yes.
Yes. Yeah, Kevin Rodriguez, being able to, find those dangerous spots. He might not be as fast as Deshane or Malik Foster, but I think he has the technical abilities in order to try and find some danger inside of the box and take on defenders. As well as I think we haven't seen a lot of Nico Lemoyne, but from what we've seen in the minutes that he has played, I think he's shown some improvement as well, and kind of gel with Chuy Enriquez. Because to me, sometimes it seems like Chuy Enriquez has been, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ray or Jacob, but it seems like Chuy Enriquez, there's at times during the match where he starts going into that number 10 role, especially when you got both Kevin and Nico in the match.
I want to concur with you with that statement because yes, Chuy tries to do a little bit more on the attack as well when you already have those numbers there with Nico and Kevin. He does try to feed off and bounce off of them to try to get more production in there for the other forwards as well. But it's just something that I think he's been just practicing on the field as well, on the practice fields too.
Mm. Yeah, because it has been a lot more consistent later in the match, where I was like, you just see like Chuy in that number 10 role being the distributor to the offense, and I think he's done it well. I think Chuy has done it well. He's not a true number 10. I think he's always been a winger. But when he does drift into that spot on the field, I think he's done it well. He knows how to complement with everybody else, including Michael Salazar or Carlos the Small. And I'm really eager to see how this will play out against New Mexico. Now, granted, we have to remember that in New Mexico, we're going back to a baseball field. Jeez, you was on the baseball fields, man. But yeah, it's a baseball field at Isotopes Park. You've got you've going up against a New Mexico United that is hungry to make it to playoffs. This is the team that was in the high spots earlier this season. Then all of a sudden they hit a rut, and now they're on the outside looking in. So they're hungry to make it to playoffs in their first year.
Yeah, they've been on a pretty good tailspin. I mean, they were lucky to even get that result with Phoenix just recently.
Yeah, because you look at their last 5 games, and let's take a look. I say 5, but you look at their 6th game before, they got pummeled by San Antonio FC 5-0. Then they lose against Orange County 2-0 at their home. They defeat OKC Energy 3-1. They win against Colorado Springs Switchbacks at home, lose to Reno at home, and then draw against Phoenix Rising at home. So they've kind of been all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, no consistency there. I mean, but their one danger player to look out for them is Santi Moore. I remember early on in the season where I interviewed Coach, and I asked him, like, hey, are you guys going to contain a dangerous Spanish forward in Santi Moore, a guy who has been there before in some of the European lower leagues? Mm-hmm. He goes, well, I mean, he's the one guy that we just got to be very have him in high attention regards, whether it's Connor or Kyle or even both, so that we don't let this guy do any further damage.
Mm. So, and then you've also caught Kayvon Frater with 14 goals. I think that's another player that we have to look at going into this match. Jacob?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, he is for sure another player that we do have to look out for, or just look out in this match. And New Mexico United, yes, you're coming into a home crowd. Yes, you're coming into a crowd or a place that hasn't necessarily had the best of results, but of course, given our record on the road in general, it just, I don't know, it feels like it's going to be a tough one for RDVFC. Now, of course, like we've said, though, if they play the way that they have played for the past 2 weeks, then it could be a different match. Just like Ray said, though, of course, we have to watch out for, well, their best star. And it's always going to be, it's always a chess match in general, and it will be for sure on the road. Now, going also back a while back, y'all mentioned something about, the way that Coach said we have to bring in this type of, and Chewy said that they wanted to bring in more of a defensive role and bring in this type of kind of an offensive attack, sort of going both ways. Now, I mean, yeah, that's kind of true. You have to be more on that defensive side, but make sure that when you do have possession, when you do have a chance to take advantage of it. And what I mean by that as well is just, well, you got to have your passing up more than like 78% or something like that, especially on counterattacks. And when you do that, you should be fine. And of course, you can't be on the back foot the whole time, because then it will just give New Mexico United, well, they'll just feel confident, and then they'll have chance after chance, maybe at a couple of corners. And we all know you can only stop a corner for so long before it gets into the back of the net.
And not only that, Jacob, I talked to Coach about that earlier today, about trying not to throw themselves to the back, especially when they're playing in a much smaller venue like it is going to be at the Isotope Park. They kind of reconfigured HEB Park this morning while at practice to get used to those environments and and seeing Romelio Fernandez, he goes, man, you know, this is the one thing I really don't like about playing in these smaller parks, but man, I get my good workouts in playing at these smaller parks, you know, and it's just something that the players are getting used to, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're working with a reduced field, a subpar environment when it comes to like the grass. You have patches where the baseball field is, et cetera, and now you also have to deal with a crowd that I believe against Phoenix Rising, you're talking about reported attendance of over 13,000. So that's a lot of people.
Yeah, they can really pack a stadium. I mean, this game has reminiscence of when the team played out there in El Paso, where they packed the Southwest University Park, and they had it all packed, and I can go in there and get themselves a nice result. And I'm not going to go into bold predictions here, but I am going to say that that my draw is going to be my lead prediction for that much, and we'll equalize with a tragedia for them. We'll come back and get this match level. I'm calling it. I'm scripting it now.
Stoppage time.
Stoppage time equalizer.
Ooh.
I have no author for the goal, but we will get that stoppage time equalizer.
I do have to ask, and that is because we are going against New Mexico, but let's remember that an ex-Toro plays for New Mexico United, Manny Padilla.
Yeah, I talked to Chewy also during practice today, and off the record, he goes, Ray, you better not ask me about Manny Padilla. I go, bro, you bringing this up. I'm not even bringing this up for you. You are acting all on your own.
Yeah, I forgot about Manny Padilla, Manuel Padilla. The last time that they faced off against, of course, New Mexico United, this is the first year. They did have a little bit of a scuffle nonetheless, but of course, well, Manny Padilla kind of deserved that in the way that it went. So, yeah, that's going to be fun for us to come back, especially on that road, and we'll see what happens on that note. Of course, like we said, it's going to be a hostile environment with 13,000, but and I'm kind of looking at the park. It doesn't look like any other it looks like any other baseball stadium with a soccer pitch on it. I mean, I don't know why if they would have had to reconfigure HEB Park for that little time. Yes, the corners are going to be cut off and things like that, but it just doesn't seem like a.
No, well, they just put like cones around it, Jacob.
Oh, they just like put cones around it. Yeah, well, that's what I kind of thought. It's kind of normal the way that it looks, in my opinion.
Well, usually those kind of fields, you know, because of the way that the diamonds are laid out for the most part, you tend to have a narrower field compared to a usual standard size like HEB Park. Because remember, HEB Park is not only U.S. Soccer approved, but also CONCACAF approved dimensions. So you're talking about a wider field that really helps out possession-based attack. And now they're going to have to kind of reconfigure how they're going to play against New Mexico with such a narrower field in that aspect. So Ray gave his prediction. What's your prediction, Jacob?
Prediction. I see a 2-1 Toros victory. Yes, somehow they score 2 goals and get the victory on the road against a hostile crowd. bold prediction, Chewy's going to score both of them. And, well, actually, no, I take that back. Bold prediction, Chewy will score one. Manuel Padilla will score the other. Yeah, it's going to be an own goal for the second goal.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, things are going to get heated on that own goal.
And both of them are getting sent off.
Manuel, exactly.
That would be hilarious. Chewy and Manny gets sent off. Soccer shouldn't be played in a baseball stadium. So I definitely agree. Exactly.
Yeah, I agree on that more. And real quick, of course, to bring this up because it's always funny. But also, thanks to the New York Yankees, because the Yankees, of course, have a chance to, well, just ruin NYCFC's playoff appearance at Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll have to play at Citi Field up in Queens.
I'll tell you what, Jacob. Queens is a little bit bigger of a baseball field than what Yankee Stadium is.
Uh-huh.
So we might see NYFC get exposed a little bit there.
Yep. That will be very fun.
And another thing for you, Edson, I'm just glad that there isn't any type of drug testing down in the valley, or at least not yet.
Why?
Hence his Jacob prediction. Son's Jacob prediction. Sorry.
All right. So my prediction. I mean, if that was the basis for a drug test, I'm pretty sure my takes would have merited that a long ass time ago.
No, not really. Not really. You haven't read. No comment.
No. No comment. So my prediction, I'm going to be continuing on with tradition, and I'm going to be negative, and I'm going to say 2-1 loss by the Toros. They'll lose 2-1 in Isotopes Park. I think the lone goal will be scored by Michael Salazar, just kind of to continue on his good run of form. Now, bold predictions. Great.
Oh. We actually get a 1-0 shutout on the road. I'll give you my goal scorer on that one, Connor Donovan.
Oh.
He'll score a screamer.
Like against Las Vegas last year?
Ooh. I don't know. Kind of like the screamer that, oh boy. Like Kyle, oh man, against Las Vegas last year? Yeah, maybe. Something along those lines. Why not?
So, Justin says, I think RGV keeps their playoff hopes alive and pull out a 2-1 win. I think that would be epic. But as far as playoff hopes, it's going to be almost difficult, almost impossible to get back at. Jacob, your bold prediction.
Yeah, bold prediction. I think I kind of already gave it, but we'll go with it again. Same score, of course. And, yeah, Chewy scores one, and Manuel Padilla scores the other. Things also get heated, and we see Manuel get sent off in front of his home fans.
All right, here's my bold prediction is a 2-0 win at Isotopes Park, and Robert Coronado gets some minutes at the end.
Mr. Facial.
Yeah, you're messing it up. Robert Coronado gets some minutes at the end. He scores the a stoppage time goal. He takes off his shirt, and underneath he's got a Natural Beauty Spa shirt. Nah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's my bold prediction is Robert Coronado scores a goal after coming in from the bench.
Sponsor.
Well played, Jacob. You finally learned. You finally learned, young Jedi.
So, we're about near the end of this episode. You guys have any final thoughts before we sign off? But I'll let Ray do the honors first.
I do. I just want to send out a shout out to good old JT Juan Turrubiates on getting himself a nice promotion within the organization. Guys worked his tail off, and congrats, Juan. You've earned every bit of it, man.
Of course, congratulations to you, JT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, congrats, JT.
I still see that you're a little bit salty because you're banned from HEB Park.
Even though we're banned from HEB Park, we're gonna be nice and say congratulations. We'll send you a cake.
So it's funny.
Ray.
It's funny because when he tweeted it out, Alex Del Barrio tweeted back, is like, "Oh, that's harsh." But nah.
I thought it was the same person.
But nah, it's just like
I said, Alex Del Barrio.
Yeah.
The man from Telemundo. Or, who am I talking about? No. I'm thinking of someone else. My bad.
You're thinking of Carlos Ravelo or Justice.
Probably. I don't know.
No, he used to be in Channel 4, right, Ray?
Yes, KGBT. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, KGBT.
Exactly. So, but yeah. What was I gonna say? Okay. Because you were talking about JT. Of course, a huge congratulations goes out to him. By the way, you cannot ban me if I self-exile myself, JT. So, just leaving it out there. Before Jacob, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts. Yeah, looking forward to some more soccer for sure. Always nice, and well, now on to some more high school football for me, and then some more college football and soccer for this weekend. Will always be fun. Also, I've been very lucky to get to head out to Arrowhead Stadium this Sunday to watch the Colts play the Chiefs, so that will be pretty fun as well. But on final thoughts, it's going to be very interesting for the end of the season.
All right, so my final thoughts are, okay, so I got a couple ones. Number one, I'm going to go ahead and announce the winner of the Down in the Valley Player of the Year award. Goes to none other than Isidro Martinez, who completely won this vote by a landslide. Out of 142 votes, he got 92 votes. So huge congratulations to Isidro Martinez. I will be ordering a trophy so we can present it to him on the in the last game of the season. I think that just kind of gels in his outstanding season, his outstanding rookie season with the Toros. So kudos to him. Can't wait to get some reactions from him on the 18th. So there's that. So hopefully we can have that done. We can do that every other season. So we can and hopefully we can maybe add some more awards. Maybe not only player,
a whole award ceremony.
I think that'd be awesome, but it's not. But hashtag budget cuts. So yeah. So
unless you all want to donate for this event, y'all can pay. The fans of Down the Valley can pay and reserve a seat.
We're gonna build the best award ceremony ever. And the rest of the USL is going to pay for it. The rest of BGN will pay for this outstanding award ceremony. The best. Trust, believe me, I know all about award ceremonies. So Justin says, bold prediction, Fuenmayor comes on just for a red card in the 60th minute. And then
oh, jeebus. Fuenmayor.
Oh, God help us. And here's my final thought, guys. Just letting y'all know, you all probably saw it on my social media as well as on Down in the Valley's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I will be going live on Saturday. I am going to be doing an alternative play-by-play commentary in Spanish for the Toros. I'm just trying to. It's gonna be like a pilot kind of thing for the rest of the season. Just kind of test the waters to see like if there's a market or trying to prove it that there is a market for Spanish play-by-play commentary for the Toros. Let's not forget that we are in the Rio Grande Valley, which is a very Hispanic-oriented community, especially Spanish-speaking community. So the fact that even the Somos El Valle broadcast is basically the ESPN Plus broadcast with the English commentary, it just kind of doesn't do any justice for the fans of the Rio Grande Valley. So I'm trying something out this week. It's going to be me and a friend of mine, Brandon Rivas. We will be doing the play-by-play commentary for the Toros in real time as the game goes on. Sorry, guys, we cannot do the video of the actual game because copyright. But it will be audio only. So be sure to check it out at 8:30 on this channel, the Down in the Valley channel, of course. So help us out with that. Every time we tweet about it, go ahead and share it with everybody. Let everybody know. Hopefully we can help prove a point to the Toros to not forget about the Spanish-speaking community. And I
will share this much, Edson.
Go ahead.
Last season, the team did have a Spanish radio play-by-play. Mm-hmm. However, apparently either party opted not to renegotiate. So I think this might be a brilliant play by you. Mm-hmm. I love the idea. I love the concept. I'll definitely be tuning in because I think I'm scheduled to work that night. Mm-hmm. Not fully sure, but I'm gonna be a fan of this idea.
Yeah, and I do want to give thanks to the Seriously Local podcast for influencing me in this aspect. They do that, but in English for their games, and mm-hmm. It just kind of brings in more passion that the USL commentators bring in. It's like sometimes like they score a goal and it's like, oh, they scored a goal. Like, come on, we want to hear some passion. And I feel like it's a missed opportunity that hopefully it could kind of ignite something in the Toros front office. Jacob?
Yeah. And to be fair, radio is on its way out the door. So yeah, it's a great idea because now
here we go again.
Now it's YouTube. And of course, Facebook and all those other things that you can listen to on your phone because everyone has a phone that has internet.
Strap on the gloves.
Next idea, a pay-per-view fight between Jacob and Ray live on Down in the Valley. Oh my God! So yes, be sure to help us in that aspect. Let all of your family.
Edson, I'm not trying to promote any type of violence on your show. However, the cash flow may be needed, or I am willing to do it for a charitable cause, but I'm not willing to involve the violence aspect to it.
But yeah, be sure to share it with everybody. We want I don't know. In whatever medium that can help put the word out there, if y'all can help us in any aspect, we want this to grow. We want this, we want the Toros to feel connected with this team. The Toros fans to feel connected with this team, and I think in that aspect, I think there's the people who were in charge of this kind of let the ball drop, and I think it's up to us to pick it back up. For the sake of this team, and if it means in the future actually getting paid, well, I would not be opposed to that idea. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate. We do know that Generation Orange was on tonight as well, so that probably divided the audience. But that's neither here nor there. I want to thank you all for y'all's support for the show. Be sure to, if you haven't done so already, be sure to give it a like. Be sure to share this stream once it goes into the archives. Ray, thank you so much for all of your input on the Toros. Be sure to check out his social media, which is at STX Border Sports on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken. He also has Facebook.
Correct.
And also his YouTube channel, South Texas Border Sports, where I believe later today or maybe tomorrow you're gonna have the interviews from today's
actually tonight. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just mastering my stuff.
Okay. Yeah, so be sure to check that out. So Ray, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate all of your help.
No problem.
Jacob as well. Thank you so much for your help. Thank you so much for coming in to do another show with us. I cannot wait for the season ending game come October 18th. So we'll see you all next Wednesday at 7 p.m. here at the Down in the Valley channel. And we'll hopefully see you all as well this Saturday to watch this Toros game commentary here on Down in the Valley. Having said that, we'll see each other in the next one. Take care.
I've got something for you, and I can hardly breathe.